What happens when the man you escaped from shows up at your wedding? Not as a guest, but to take you back. Today's story is absolutely wild, and trust me, you won't see this coming. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we're posting stories like this every single day, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Also, drop a comment below and let me know. Would you choose the safe life or the dangerous love? Now, let's get into it. The morning light filtered through the bridal suite like champagne bubbles. But Zara Bennett couldn't taste the celebration. She stood before the gilded mirror in her cream silk gown, a masterpiece of beading and grace, while her cousins adjusted her cathedral veil. Atlanta's skyline glittered beyond the window. The ceremony would begin in 90 minutes. "Girl, you're absolutely stunning," her best friend Keisha breathed, already dabbing at her eyes. Zara's reflection smiled back, but the joy stopped at her lips. She should be floating. David was perfection, a pediatric surgeon, gentle, dependable, secure. He'd never broken a promise, never brought shadows to her doorstep. He was the antithesis of danger, the antithesis of him. She shoved the memory down like she'd been doing for 3 years. Jinwoo Park was a phantom, an error in judgment, a wildfire she'd barely escaped. "You ready for this?" her aunt asked, smoothing invisible wrinkles from Zara's train. The silence stretched too thin. "Absolutely," Zara whispered. Across Atlanta, Jinwoo Park sat motionless in a matte black Mercedes, his eyes fixed on the cathedral entrance through high-powered binoculars. His expression was granite, his fingers white-knuckled against the leather armrest. 3 years. 3 years of distance, of restraint, of allowing her oxygen. And now this. "Boss, this is insane," Taemin muttered from behind the wheel. Jinwoo's laugh held no humor. "I've never surrendered anything that belonged to me." "She's marrying another man. She made her choice. She made a mistake." Jinwoo's tone could cut diamonds. He lowered the binoculars, his dark eyes hollow. He could still picture her expression that final night. Terrified, shattered, but determined. "I can't exist in your darkness, Jean. I won't." He'd respected that boundary. Shielded her family from the periphery. Ensured his adversaries never learned she existed. And how did she repay him? She fled into the embrace of someone who'd never comprehend the inferno burning inside her. David had no idea Zara possessed hands that could resurrect the dying. Had no clue she'd once kept Jinwoo's cousin alive while warfare raged outside the warehouse. Didn't understand she loved with an intensity that could incinerate everything. Jinwoo consulted his Patek Philippe. 75 minutes. "Gather the team," he said, his voice barely audible. Taemin hesitated. "This is abduction, Hyung. There's no redemption after." "I'm aware." Jinwoo's gaze never wavered from the cathedral. "I don't give a damn. Have you ever been ready to sacrifice everything for love, even when the entire universe said you'd lost your mind? Share your story in the comments. We're listening." The cathedral breathed roses and frankincense. Zara stood at the massive doors, her father's steady arm linked through hers. 200 faces turned, expressions radiating anticipation. David stood at the front in an immaculate navy suit, his expression open and uncomplicated. The processional began. 1 step, 2, 3. Then the doors burst open violently. 8 men in black tactical gear moved like trained predators, swift and merciless. Guests shrieked. David stood frozen. Zara's father tried pulling her backward, but familiar fingers circled her wrist.
Known.
Electric. "Hello, Zara." Jinwoo. Time fractured. 3 years evaporated. She stared into those obsidian, lethal eyes and forgot her own name. He looked weathered, sharper, the thin scar along his cheekbone more visible now. But his touch, God, his touch still ignited every nerve ending. "Release her," David shouted, charging forward. Taemin intercepted him with calculated violence, driving him against the mahogany pews. "Don't you dare hurt him." Zara's voice finally emerged. "Jean, please." "I'm not interested in him." Jinwoo's thumb found her racing pulse. "I'm here for you." You can't. Watch me. He lifted her effortlessly, one arm beneath her knees, the other supporting her back. The wedding gown billowed like surrender-made fabric. Zara pounded his chest, but he navigated through the pandemonium like a sovereign reclaiming stolen property. 3 years, she hissed. 3 years of silence, and now. Now I'm finished pretending I can survive without you. His voice cracked, just slightly, just enough for her to hear the fracture beneath the authority. The Mercedes door slammed. Tires screamed. Atlanta dissolved past the tinted windows as Zara's meticulously constructed existence exploded into fragments. The compound emerged ahead, steel gates, armed sentries, a fortress masquerading as luxury. Zara sat rigid in the leather seat, her wedding dress a vicious reminder of the morning's promise. Jin-woo observed her like someone terrified she might disappear. You've completely lost it, she said, trembling with fury. Gone absolutely insane. Likely. This is kidnapping, Jin. A federal crime. They'll lock you away. They won't. His delivery was emotionless, certain. I control enough prosecutors to avoid that. Her stomach nodded. This was the universe she'd escaped. Authority, without consequences. Brutality in designer clothing. The vehicle stopped. Jin-woo exited first, offering his hand. Zara ignored it, gathering her gown and stumbling out independently. Her heels echoed on Italian marble as guards bowed deferentially. As if this were routine. Inside was excessive, baccarat crystal, art worth fortunes, sterile extravagance. Jin-woo guided her to a bedroom suite larger than her childhood home. You'll remain here, he stated. Like a hostage. Like an honored guest. Zara's laugh was acid. Guests have freedom to leave, Jin. Can I leave? His silence was her answer. She whirled on him, rage blazing.
Why?
After all this time? Why now? His composure slipped for a heartbeat. She glimpsed agony so naked it stole her oxygen. Because witnessing you marry him would have destroyed me. And I'm a selfish bastard who'd prefer your hatred to your indifference. I despise you. Liar. The accusation suspended between them, heavy with reality. Zara's hands shook. She wanted to scream, to demolish something, to deny that her heart wasn't hammering against her ribs like a caged creature recognizing sanctuary. David is decent, she whispered. I know. He doesn't deserve this. I know that too. Jin-woo moved closer, and she forced herself motionless. But decent men don't haunt you at 3 a.m. They don't make you feel like combustion. And they certainly don't love you enough to annihilate you. Love. Zara's voice fractured. This isn't love, Jin. This is insanity. He smiled, melancholy and absolute. With us, it's always been inseparable. For days passed like purgatory. Zara refused to exit the bedroom, rejected his meals, refused acknowledgement beyond glacial stares. Jin-woo stood outside her door through the nights, listening to her weep, despising himself more with each broken sound. On the 5th morning, he entered without permission.
Get out, she snapped.
Your family is worried. He placed a smartphone on the dresser. Contact them. Confirm you're unharmed. Unharmed? She laughed darkly. I'm imprisoned by a Korean mob boss. How is that unharmed? Because nobody will harm you here. Not competitors, not adversaries, not. He stopped, jaw clenching. Not Jin. He looked elsewhere. It's irrelevant. But Zara was an ER nurse. She understood how to interpret bodies, how to identify concealed trauma, and Jin-woo was hemorrhaging from something he wouldn't articulate. She lifted the phone slowly, called her aunt, fabricated needing space, about wedding anxiety, about returning soon. Each word felt like swallowing razors. When she disconnected, Jin-woo was studying her with something resembling remorse. Why didn't you call the authorities? He asked quietly. Zara didn't have an explanation. Or perhaps she did, and it terrified her. Show me, she said instead. Show you what? Your universe. You dragged me back into it. Show me what justified destroying my wedding. Jin-woo studied her, searching for deception, But Zara's eyes held only exhaustion and desperate need for comprehension. "All right," he said finally, "but you won't appreciate what you discover." He led her through the compound, past the weapons vault, the surveillance center, the rooms where men orchestrated conflicts over strategy boards. He showed her the medical facility he'd constructed after his cousin nearly died. Showed her the schools he sponsored anonymously, the orphanages, the domestic violence shelters. "Blood money," Zara murmured. But her voice had softened. "Everything I possess is blood money," Jinwoo agreed. "But at least some of it prevents further bleeding." They concluded in the garden. Cherry blossoms and peonies, absurdly beautiful for a criminal headquarters. Jinwoo sat on a stone bench, and after a moment, Zara joined him. Not close, but not distant either. "You could have written," she said. "Called. Anything except this." Would you have responded?
No.
Exactly. He plucked a cherry blossom, rotating it absently. 3 years ago, you said you couldn't survive my world. That it would annihilate you. It would have. I know. So, I released you. His voice dropped. Do you comprehend what that cost me? Zara's throat constricted. Then why bring me back? Because releasing you was supposed to create your happiness. He finally met her gaze, and his eyes were oceans of devastation. But I saw you this morning, Zara. In that cathedral, in that gown, and you looked like you were marching to your execution. That night, sleep was impossible. Zara paced the bedroom, Jinwoo's words circling her consciousness, like predators. You looked like you were marching to your execution. Had she? A knock interrupted her spiral. Jinwoo entered carrying crystal tumblers and whiskey older than her parents. I can't sleep either, he admitted. They drank in silence initially. Then Jinwoo started speaking, genuinely speaking, about his childhood and soul, watching his father construct an empire on corpses. About his cousin Minjun, the only innocent thing in his existence. About the night everything transformed. You were present, Zara whispered, memory flooding back. The warehouse fire 3 years ago. Jinwoo nodded. Minjun was trapped. Everyone declared him deceased. But you, his voice cracked. You charged into the flames. Extracted him. Kept him breathing while my world incinerated. Zara remembered the heat, the smoke, the young man who resembled Jinwoo, gasping for oxygen. She'd worked on him for hours, refusing to surrender to death. He survived because of you, Jinwoo continued. And I fell in love with you because of it. Not merely for saving him, but because you saw us. Truly saw us. And you didn't flee. Not initially. But I did flee, Zara said softly. Eventually. Because of Choi. Jinwoo's jaw tightened at the name. My competitor. He discovered you. Sent men to your family's residence. Zara closed her eyes. She'd come home to bullet holes in her aunt's living room. A note on her pillow. Leave Jinwoo, or they die. I didn't leave to wound you, she whispered. I left to protect them. I know. Jinwoo refilled her glass with trembling hands. And the night you vanished, I found Choi. Eliminated him. Eliminated everyone who knew your identity. But it was too late. You were gone. You never told me. What was I supposed to say? Hey, I massacred 18 people for you. Want coffee? His laugh was empty. You were correct to flee, Zara. I'm toxic. She should have concurred. Should have used this confession to reinforce the barrier between them. But instead, she asked the question that had haunted her for 3 years. Did you ever regret encountering me? Jinwoo looked at her like she'd wounded him. Not for one damn second. Have you ever had to choose between love and security? What did you choose, and do you regret it? Share your answer below. Let's discuss. The next morning, something had shifted. Zara woke to find breakfast on her balcony. Grits, fried catfish, her grandmother's biscuit recipe. Jinwoo sat opposite, attempting to use a fork the way she'd once instructed him. You're doing it wrong, she said, suppressing a smile. Then teach me again. So she did. And for one stolen hour, they weren't captor and captive. They were just two souls remembering how to exist around each other. Jinwoo showed her his library, First editions, poetry in 7 languages. Zara traced her fingers over the spines, pausing at a collection of Toni Morrison. You kept them, she breathed. She'd recommended these books, once casually. I kept everything that reminded me of you. Days blurred into patterns. Morning coffee on the veranda, afternoons in the garden, evenings playing Go, which Jinwoo always let her win. He didn't touch her, didn't pressure, just existed in her atmosphere like a satellite learning to orbit a new sun. One night, she discovered him in his office, face in his hands. Documents were scattered, financial statements, liquidation papers. What is this? She asked. My exit strategy. He didn't look up. I'm dissolving assets, transferring authority to Taemin leaving. Zara's heart stopped. Because of me? He finally met her eyes. You were correct 3 years ago. This world is poison, and I'm exhausted being venomous. Jean. When you leave, I want you departing knowing I attempted to become someone worthy of your memory. Zara crossed the room slowly, stood before him, placed her hand on his scarred cheek, feeling him tremble beneath her touch. You're a fool, she whispered. I know. A reckless, arrogant, impossible man. I know. And I never stopped loving you. Not for one day. Jinwoo's eyes closed. A single tear escaped. The first she'd ever witnessed from him. Don't say that unless you mean it. I mean it. Her voice broke. God help me, I mean it. He kissed her then, desperate, reverent. 3 years of starvation poured into one moment. Zara kissed him back, tasting salt and redemption and the terrible, beautiful truth. Some loves don't die. They just wait. The alarm shattered their fragile sanctuary at 2 a.m. Gunfire exploded outside. Sharp percussion, lethal. Jinwoo was instantly awake, pulling Zara from the bed. What's happening? Choi's nephew. He found you. Jinwoo's face was stone. The compound became a battlefield. Jinwoo's team returned fire, while Taemin evacuated civilians. Jinwoo kept Zara behind him, every muscle coiled to kill. They reached the safe room, a reinforced bunker beneath the mansion. Jinwoo sealed them inside just as an explosion rocked the structure above. This is what I meant, Zara said, hugging herself. This is why I left. This violence, this death, it never ends, Jean. Never. I'll end it tonight. His voice was ice, the killer sliding back into position. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me. Don't go. She grabbed his arm. Please. They came for you, Zara. They'll keep coming unless I finish this. Then we leave together. We disappear somewhere they can't locate us. There's nowhere they can't locate us. Jinwoo cupped her face. But I can ensure they stop searching. He kissed her forehead, opened the door, and walked into chaos. Hours passed like millennia. Zara listened to gunfire, screams, silence. When the door finally opened, it was Taemin, blood-stained but alive. Where is he? She demanded. Medical wing. You need to come. Jinwoo lay on a gurney, torso wrapped in bandages, breathing shallow. He'd taken 4 bullets protecting the compound, protecting her. You stupid, stupid man, Zara sobbed, gripping his hand.
Why?
Why do this? His eyes fluttered open. Because you're worth dying for. But I don't want you to die. Her tears fell on his chest. I want you to live. With me.
Despite everything.
I want us. Jinwoo's smile was weak but genuine. You're certain? No more safe choices. No more running. I'm certain. She pressed her forehead to his. But on one condition. Anything. You leave completely. No half measures, no final job. You abandon this world, or I walk. Jinwoo's hand tightened around hers. Deal. Recovery was gradual. Jinwoo spent 3 weeks in the medical wing while Zara played nurse, commanding, competent, refusing to leave his side. His men marveled at the transformation. Their ruthless boss reduced to obeying a woman's every instruction. She's terrifying, Taemin muttered admiringly. She's perfect, Jinwoo corrected. But reality loomed. David had called 40 times. Zara's family demanded explanations. And the wedding, the life she'd abandoned, waited like a specter. One morning, Jinwoo found her on the veranda staring at her phone. "You need to call him," he said quietly. "I know. He deserves closure." "I know that too." She looked up, eyes wet. "But saying it out loud makes it real. Makes me the villain who abandoned a good man at the altar for a criminal." "You're not the villain." Jinwoo sat beside her, careful of his healing ribs. "And I'm attempting not to be either." Zara finally dialed. David answered immediately. The conversation was brief, brutal, necessary. David deserved her honesty, so she gave it. "I love someone else. I always have. I'm so sorry." He didn't yell, didn't curse. Just said quietly, "I hope he's worth it." And disconnected. Zara cried for an hour. Not for David, but for the life she'd murdered, the safe harbor she'd torched for a storm. Jinwoo held her through it, saying nothing. When her tears finally dried, she looked at him. Really looked. "What now?" she asked. "Now you decide." He took her hands. "I meant what I said. I'm leaving this life. Taemin assumes control next month. I've purchased a house in Jeju Island. Small, quiet, anonymous.
You could come with me. Or, his voice wavered.
Or you go home. Resume your life. I won't pursue you again. I swear it." "You'd let me go? After everything?" "Love isn't imprisonment, Zara. It's giving you the choice I should have given you from the start." She studied his face, the scars, the pain, the impossible hope. This man had kidnapped her, destroyed her wedding, dragged her back into chaos, and loved her with a ferocity that made her feel alive. "Jeju," she said finally. "Does the house have a garden?" Jinwoo's laugh was half-sob. "The biggest you've ever seen." "Then I guess I'm coming with you." 8 months later, Zara stood in that garden, planting collard greens in the rich Korean soil. The house was modest compared to the Atlanta compound. No armed guards, no baccarat crystal. Just white walls, open windows, and the sound of the ocean nearby. Jinwoo emerged from the house carrying iced tea, his shirt unbuttoned, the scars on his chest visible. He'd kept his promise. Left everything behind. No more syndicate, no more bloodshed. Just a man learning to be ordinary. "Your aunt called," he said, handing her a glass. "She's visiting next month. Still thinks you're crazy." "I am." Zara rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. Her family had slowly forgiven, helped by the fact that Jinwoo had anonymously cleared their debts and funded her cousin's medical school. Blood money, yes. But building something better. Nights were still difficult sometimes. Jinwoo woke screaming from nightmares. Zara struggled with guilt over David, over the scene at the cathedral. But they held each other through the darkness. Two broken people becoming whole. One evening as the sun set over the garden, Jinwoo knelt in the collard greens. Expensive suits traded for jeans and dirt under his nails.
"Zara Bennett," he said softly.
3 years ago, I released you because I loved you. 8 months ago, I dragged you back because I was selfish. Today, I'm asking you properly. Marry me, not because I demand it, but because I can't imagine breathing without you. He opened a box, a simple platinum band, no diamonds, no ostentation. Just promise. Zara pulled him to his feet, kissing him hard. "Yes," she whispered against his mouth. "Yes, you ridiculous man." They married in that garden 6 weeks later. No crowd, no chaos. Just family, laughter, and vows spoken under a Korean sky. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Jinwoo whispered the words he'd said 8 months ago. "Hello, Zara." And she whispered back, "Hello, home." The life she'd planned crumbled. But the life she'd found, messy, imperfect, real, was more than she'd ever dared to dream. Do you believe true love is worth burning down your whole life for? Or should we always choose safety over passion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and we'd love to know what you would do in Zara's shoes.